Hello, how are you? So, what is this channel about? This channel fundamentally is about my quest to understand and discover the smartest kids, why the smartest kids hate math or can't do math. And I've done this for many years. I worked with dozens of students over the years from all the way from, age 8 all the way to 25. And I've seen consistently that the kids who are the smartest, the most capable kids, students are the ones who hate math, who have the most trouble with math, struggle the most with math. And why is that? Now, what's odd is that math, in reality, nobody believes me. They don't believe me when I tell them this initially. In fact, math is the easiest of subjects. Math is much easier than English. Try to explain to, English is much, English language, reading and writing is much more complicated. There are so many more ways of doing things. There's more rules, more complex rules. In fact, rules that make no sense. Why is PAID paid and why is SAID said? Try to explain that. What's the rule behind that? Math is much simpler. There's only 10 digits. There's a few symbols, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, square root. There's a bunch of symbols, but basically it's much simpler. Yet does everyone think, why do so many millions of kids and adults think that math is the hardest subject? I'll tell you why. So there's a combination of reasons. It's a double reason. And more than that, moreover, why is the same kid who can spend hours playing a video game, and those video games are much more complicated, much more boring, and more complicated, okay? Which is interesting because the student will often say math is boring. Video games exciting. I said, really? You can spend 10 hours pressing the same button over and over again, spend literally 10, 15 hours doing the same exercise over and over again, but they find that exciting. Why do they find that exciting? Why do they find football less complicated? The rules of football. So the kid that is obsessed with football and can memorize all the players of his favorite team and all the stats of his team and know all the rules of football and baseball and basketball are much more complicated. The same kid who can memorize every word of their favorite artist's song, rap song, or whatever artist they're following. All the rules of life in general are more complicated, but yet they say they can't remember the math rules. They can't do math. Why is that? There are fundamentally two reasons. One, so what I often say is math is hard because it's so simple. The truth is it's so simple, yet at the same time the kids believe they can't succeed. Why is it that why is a video game addictive? They'll do the same thing over and over again. But math they find boring. In the video game, even though they fail, they believe they can succeed. They believe that one more time, so they can spend 10, 15, 20 hours, not even eat, pressing the same button, doing the same exercise over and over and over again, and they find that exciting. Why? Because they know why they failed. They know that they'll improve. They can see their improvement. They can see that when they practice, they get better. When they get better, they succeed and they go to the next level. Now, what happens, of course, when they go to the next level, they get past one obstacle, the game gets harder and they fail more. But again, they see the progress. They believe they can succeed. In math, it's the exact opposite. Truth is, with much of learning, most subjects in general, so that with math in specifically, math, they believe they cannot succeed. They believe that no matter what they do, they will fail. So therefore they will not try because therefore it's the complete opposite of what happens in the video game. The video game is they see growth and possibility and they see they can win. And with math, they discover that no matter what they do or how much time they spend, they will fail. And now when you show them how simple it is, 1 + 1 = 2, start with that simple addition, that is too simple. That's boring. Then they get insulted. So they basically look at the complex math. When it gets to abstract concepts, fractions is the first place that they do fractions and then negative numbers, and then not to mention algebra. But they look at that as being complicated. And when you try to explain it fundamentally from the beginning, which we really do from second grade, first, second, third grade, that's too simple. They get insulted. Therefore, they don't want to do the simple drills. They'll do it on a video game. They will do it on a video game, but they won't do it in math because in the video game, they see how those fundamental, simple things, pressing the button over and over again, trying over and over again, helps them succeed. They see growth. They see, even though they may never win, they could be number 1,000, but they'll try over. The reason the games are addictive is because they will try over and over again, because they're convinced they see their progress. And therefore, because they see their progress, they know why they failed. They know what they did wrong, and therefore they know what to improve. And they believe with their whole heart that one more time, this math, they think, no, it's just them. With math, they think they're the only ones that doesn't understand. The truth is, I've discovered this over years and dozens of children, that the illusion of the kids that can succeed, the kid who's smart, who asks questions and thinks he can succeed, looks at the other kids and thinks they're successful, and he doesn't realize, I know the truth, that even the ones that get the A's are really doing it mechanically and don't understand it, but they manage to do it mechanically. And the smarter kids, the ones who were asking questions, who wanted to make sense, they look at it and said, this is stupid, this is silly. They don't learn it, therefore they make mistakes. Therefore they don't see growth, and they don't see the possibility of winning. This is why. So the key to success in math is to show, and this is the double challenge. If you start from two simple things, and take an 8th grader who's struggling with math, take a 9th grader, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, and start them, which what you really need to do is start them with, go back to division. They get insulted. Oh, I know division already. No, they don't know division. Nobody knows division. Oh, I know this is already too simple. I know this. Okay, so they're reluctant to do that, and therefore they can't go forward. So what we have to do is we do both. We show them success. You have to show them that they can. The number one thing is to show them that they can do it. And the smiles I see when you see the kid, the first time, a kid who hated math, who thought they couldn't do math, see that they can, the world opens up. As one of my students said, she said, she was convinced she couldn't do math. And after a few weeks, she said, I'm not as dumb as I thought. It's an amazing thing. She thought she couldn't do math. And when she realized she can, I have multiple students who hated math, who hated being practiced with math. But once they see they can succeed, suddenly it becomes the opposite. They suddenly want to do it. Literally, I have kids who struggle the most, who literally 16-year-old kids, a boy who hated math, come home crying every day from school. After a few months, he now tells his mother, hey, can we do math? Can we practice math? Can you believe that? And another parent says, my daughter hated math, and now when she's doing math and her friends call, they say, wait, she says, wait, I'm doing math right now. That's an amazing thing. Anyway, we'll go into more details about how to do this, but that's fundamentally, I had to get that off my chest. Fundamentally, the math is torture because they cannot see the relationship of why they got something wrong, and it's so simple that they don't want to learn the simple concept. They don't. I'll often get the question, why are you making something so simple so complicated, right? Why am I taking a simple thing like x plus 2 equals 10? I'll spend half an hour explaining how to do that. What's obvious? X plus 2 equals 10. Obviously, x is 8. Why are you doing this in such a complicated way? And the reason is the same thing with, and we'll go into this in more detail.